All right. Well, hi, everybody. Today I'm with Katie Lyckman, and she is the co founder of a nonprofit called A Hero's Family Foundation. And they send military widows and their families on cost free healing retreats. So, welcome, Katie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so glad you're here. So, Katie, we've got 10 more minutes. What's one thing you would love for the world to know?
That is a great question, and I've thought a little bit about it, and I'd like to share that I think people should know that healing can look like a lot of different things, and it's not just one thing. I encourage people to try different things and figure out what works for them, and to kind of think of a mindset of healing our minds. We would pay attention if we broke our arm.
Yeah.
I wish more people would pay attention when traumatic things happen in their life. And although we may not be able to see it as visibly as a broken arm, it really does change your brain and it needs to be addressed. And there are lots of different ways to find support when you experience traumatic things that happen in your life.
I love that because there isn't just one way. Because sometimes we do have a trauma and we don't know. We think it has to be just one way. I know I'm a therapist. I work with a lot of therapists, and we always think that that's the only way. But I'm so glad that you're bringing this up. So,
Yes.
Katie, how did you discover this?
In 2020, I experienced probably the worst year ever. I know 2020 was really terrible for a lot of people. I feel like for me, it just a lot of things happened all at once. So, my husband passed away in my arms from a brain aneurysm. At the time, we had two small boys, they were 2 and 4. And I discovered shortly after my husband passed that we were expecting a third. Yeah, so
Wow.
we had been trying to grow our family and we're trying for another baby, and I found out after his passing that I was pregnant. And then it wasn't too long after that I had a pretty traumatic miscarriage as well. And then not too long after that, my brother passed away from a fentanyl overdose. So it was just my world turned upside down.
Oh my goodness, I can just feel that makes my heartbeat just wow.
Yeah. It really, I felt like grief was really in my face that year. I really had to pay attention to it. I'm a military wife. My husband was active duty for 17 years, and we were stationed in Hawaii at the time that it happened. So I was very fortunate to have the support of the military community, and we lived on base, and my neighbors really stepped in and helped. But it was just a really big transition in my life.
I hear that. That is amazing. And so, what is the first step that someone might take?
I would say through all of that, looking back, if I were to give someone advice, what would be the first thing to do? Because there's so many things to do at that point, right? There's a lot of healing that needs to take place. But before any of that, get your sleep on track. That's my number one advice is after all that happened, I felt like there was this depletion of energy. And it's really hard to keep swimming and keep your head above water when you just don't have energy. So I would say get your sleep back on track, get a really good night routine. If you may need some medication to assist with that, really just find a place where you can get your mind at ease to where you're able to regain that strength to tackle other things that will come your way.
Yeah, first things first, I think, with the sleep. I
Yeah.
agree 100%. And so, what's a common obstacle that people face?
I think a common obstacle is people, they may avoid the healing initially and then it like all of a sudden may hit them, or some people just dive right into it at first and then they get to a point where they're like, okay, I've done all the work, why do I still feel like this?
Yes.
So I think kind of making peace that it's never going to be like it was. We're not trying to be her again. We're
Mm,
trying to accept and love the person you are now and really focus on that present person
wow.
who has done a lot, and just showing up every day is enough. Just breathing every day is enough sometimes. So there were times when I would look at the clock and I would say, if I could just make it to breakfast, if I could just make it to lunch, if I could just make it, I would kind of time my day and my meal times, like giving myself little mini goals. And initially, you have to do that. You have
Wow.
to just break your day up to just get through a day. And then it becomes okay. I've gotten through a few days. Let
Right.
me get through this week.
Yeah.
And then a few months. And then it just, the pain is still so very there, but your ability to tolerate it becomes so much stronger.
So interesting. And how do I know if I'm doing it right?
Pretty soon, you'll not obsessively kind of think, oh man, my life sucks. It will just be you're able to embrace joy again
Hmm.
and being able to just kind of, it's not really on the forefront of your mind of, okay, how many hours are left in this day until it's over. It's just really being present, and time just kind of isn't so much against you. I would say you're enjoying the moment. So if you're showing up, you're breathing, and your mind is at a place where you're present, I think you're doing well.
I think there's times, when things first hit you like this, where you just can't even imagine that you would go back to laughing again
Right.
or to that feeling of flow.
Right.
And the experience of time is so different. Tell me, how did you discover just about like different ways to explore healing and what kind of?
I will say that I explored medication, different medications that helped me, and I also have been off of medication to explore other avenues. Therapy. I've done EMDR therapy, which has been very helpful. That therapy really got my sleep back on track to where my thoughts weren't. It was like with PTSD. I was diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety, and depression all after that year.
Yeah, yeah.
And I felt like regaining just a peace of mind and sleep through medication, through EMDR therapy, through some natural medicines as well. And one of my favorite ways was connecting with people who are like me. So that is why I started the nonprofit with my co founder, Sina. She's also a military widow. And it was in those conversations with people that have been through what we've been through where a lot of the healing came.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. It's like an opportunity to pay it forward and keep it going.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, especially how you said just about you also have to kind of grieve yourself, like the person that you were.
Yes, absolutely. That's not something I really anticipated. I thought I was just working to get to this person of how it used to be. My life was so great before all of this. But I will never be her. I will never be her again. I really had to make peace with saying goodbye to that person and really embracing the person I am now, one of strength, one of courage, one of grace, one of love. I've really come to love myself more now than ever. If a friend was telling me this story of my life, I would just be like, oh my gosh, how are you here? And that's me. I'm that girl, and I'm still here. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that I show up for myself and for my kids too. I'm a mother of two, so I'm
Yeah,
showing up for them as well.
so lovely. Two boys. Yeah. I imagine when you create these cost-free retreats, it just gives people an opportunity to discover different ways to heal.
Yes, through our nonprofit, we've been able to gather military widows and families, children of fallen soldiers as well, to where they're able to connect. In one of the big things that make us different is that we hold retreats with no itineraries, no schedules, no workshops, no seminars. We feel that there really wasn't many retreats out there that allowed for just rest and connection because there are opportunities to go for those seminars and workshops, which are great, but sometimes you just need to process. And sometimes the best way to do that is just by doing nothing and
Yeah.
just relaxing and talking and taking it in.
Yeah. I loved that point when we first met and we chatted briefly that you don't hold any work that at those retreats. And I
Right.
think it's like so important just for people to explore because it's like you said, sometimes people run to do all the steps. Like I'll join all the groups and some people just avoid, but really it sounds like it's a mix of time and space. When you offer these retreats, you're creating some
Yes.
time and space for folks.
Yeah.
Well, that's our time, Katie. Thank you so much for sharing what you do, your unique point of view on just really encouraging people to explore different ways to heal, kind of putting the whole package together, and for sharing your story with us. Thank
Yes,
you
thank
so
you so
much.
much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.